former Walmart employees of Reddit, what are your horror stories? Former overnighter here. We had an MP truck came rolling it at 5 in the morning. 4-1 receiving had obviously gone home, so the overnight crew had to do it. The supervisor got on the intercom and barked that last break will not be called until the truck is unloaded. So we hang our heads and drag pallet jacks to receiving. All goes well until the last pallet. The associate using the jack somehow lost control of it and it went flying down the ramp. It got caught at the very end and the wrap immediately ripped open. It was the unholiest mess I have ever seen. Tomatoes, broccoli, really any kind of vegetable you can imagine strewn all over receiving. Only a few associates volunteered to stay behind and clean it, myself being one. The rest trotted off to the break room for their last break. It took a good half hour to clean up and I was already behind schedule in my department. I took my break anyway, because frick not having a break. I didn't have time to finish zoning my department so I got yelled at for that the next night. I do not work at Walmart but I had to go there on Christmas Eve and it was a horror show, not just because of the people, but because it was about 120 degrees in the store. Everybody was sweating and cursing, people fainting, and the employees were drenched in sweat. When I was at the checkout the cashier said welcome to Walmart, or as I like to call it, the surface of the fricking sun. I laughed so hard I cried. I miss that dude. I worked there for 2 weeks. I explicitly told them I can't work these days because I'm in college. So I get my first schedule after the training. And I'm supposed to work the 2 days I have class. I tracked my manager down, told her that I can't work those days. After telling them the days I couldn't work about 5 times. The response I got was, you should have told us beforehand. I quit that exact moment. Also I made the mistake of greeting one of the higher ups who pretty much looked away in disgust. But as soon as the store manager showed up there he was all laughs and crap. Frick that kisses. The reason I quit Walmart. I had started out at the bottom and worked my way up over 2 long years. I had gotten myself promoted to a department manager. Pharmacy, but I was still very close with the cashiers and customer service associates where I had started. As a fairly young and relatively new manager, I wasn't jaded and unkind, yes. When people and other associates walked by me I said hello, asked them how they were doing. Evidently, I was one of the few. We had a new maintenance associate in the front who had Down syndrome, so he really appreciated someone being consistently friendly to him. And to be honest, he was a sweet kid and a hard worker. When he was confused or upset he would usually come to me and ask for clarification or for me to say something to whoever upset him. One day I was about to finish my shift and another associate comes running up to me and says that I'm needed in the back. Evidently the maintenance guy was crying and wouldn't calm down. I run back there because I know how fragile he is. I reach the back to find 4 salaried members of management surrounding him and yelling at him to get back to work. Actually legitimately cussing at this kid and yelling. And this kid is a snotty slobbering sobbing wreck. I basically told off all the other managers, who were my bosses, and told them to go the frick away. I calm him down, figure out what happened. There was a miscommunication about breaks, and then remind him of the policy and urge him to just do better next time. He hugs me and goes about his day, but I am P. This is not how you treat anyone, especially someone with mental disabilities. I get the number for his caseworker, but before he calls me back the next day, upper management fires the poor kid because he violated the break policy. It broke my freaking heart that they broke him down and then just threw him away. I put in my notice 2 days later. Frick Walmart. Not as an employee, but I went to Walmart at 5 in the morning to get some groceries with my friend. There was a middle-aged employee puking her guts out into a plastic bag while a younger female employee held her hair back. There was a giant puddle of vomit below her, so she either missed the bag a few times or tore through the last one. She was also sitting on the bag turner thing when this happened and we still continued shopping. She was likely sick and in work because it was seriously frowned upon for us to call out. I'm currently an overnight stocker at Walmart and now I'm quitting my job tonight. Thanks Reddit. The whole don't call 911 thing was standard also at Target. I worked in the deli and our gloves to clean the slicer went missing one day. They are reinforced to help in case your finger makes contact with the blade so the blade won't slice through your finger. Well, I told my manager we needed gloves and kept reminding her every day I worked, but she would just reply, I've let the ETL know. One day I'm cleaning the slicer. It's taken apart so it can't open any wider than the locked in closed position. But there's an open spot at the top where the sharpener goes. Anyway, I'm cleaning it and my finger catches the blade right on the tip and it gets cut off. I felt a sting, thought it was minor and went to the sink. I take off my latex gloves and start rinsing and I see my fingertip is gone. Just flat and pouring blood. So I wrapped it in my pure white Deli coat and walk out of the deli to the front. I showed the lord for the night and she freaks out. Pulls me into the break room and then has somebody take me to the hospital. Some people suggested she call an ambulance after about 20 minutes of me standing at the sink, bleeding. Then she pulled in a guy who was shopping that was a part-time firefighter and he took one look and said I should have been at the hospital 30 minutes ago. Crazy. I worked at Kmart in Sydney, Australia for about a year and a half a few years ago. I was quickly promoted to the electronics section. Most of my job was printing photos and redirecting people to better equipped stores when they needed actual equipment. However, we also hosted the DVDs and CDs. It was here that I met my most memorable customer. She was a bald mid-30s woman who was morbidly obese with her stomach hanging out of her shirt. She also happened to have a partially smoked in her ear like an artist might have a pencil. She very sweetly asked me if they had this song and proceeded to sing it in full. When she was done she could neither tell me title nor the artist. I did not recognize the tune, though not from her lack of talent. When she continues to look at me expectantly I just told her we didn't have it. With this disappointing result she began to waddle away from me. It was at this point she gave me these parting words. She turned back and said, "You look like my half-Indian classmate Andrew. I know you're not him though." And then she walked out of my life. Sydney, Australia for. That's some place name there. I worked there for about a year. It was a super Walmart with a very large parking lot. I was a cart pusher. Anyway, one day they had E and one other guy collecting carts and my manager told us to take the trash out of each garbage can in the lot. When we were done the carts were overflowing from the corals and my manager bitched us out. It was my third strike and they told me to keep my job. I would have to write a paper to management saying why I should keep my job. I said okay and took my lunch break. After my lunch I quit. Frick them. To those who work at Wally World, bless your hearts, because Walmart attracts the most uncouth, uncivilized, ghetto, trailer park trash, bottom of the barrel useless creatures known to mankind. It's like a beating ground for the rejects of all rejects. The times I've stepped foot in a Walmart have been unpleasant. Ugh. Oh sweet Jebus, Walmart stories. I worked in the Tire Lube Express for around 4 years. The best one I have for them screwing up is based around a particularly special co-worker that we dubbed Hindenburg. Why did we call him Hindenburg? Because everything he touched, he fricked up. Big time. Along with that, he got kicked out of high school at 21, at which time he had to wear a helmet because of the soft spot in his skull that never fused. And Walmart hired this man to work on people's cars. Anyways, Hindenburg was working on 4 new tires for a guy's car. Walks up the stairs to where we keep the tires above the shop. In July heat with no AC. Gets each tire individually. Carries them down the stairs and then starts mounting them on the wheels. On the 3rd tire he realizes he got the wrong type of tire. And this is where his rage takes over. He throws one of the wheels, which hits the lift controls for the vehicle. And the vehicle drops to the ground, with no wheels on it. So this is around 3,000 pounds resting on the disc brakes. Needless to say, it jacked the car up. Management is called. Hindenburg is told to go to lunch, and they want us to tell the customer that they suffered mechanical failure. If by mechanical failure, they meant his father should have pulled out, then yes, but they meant the lift suffered mechanical failure. We refused to lie for the Berg, so she stood at the register, waiting for the customer to show up, lied to them, and drove them to the shop where their car was towed to. That's probably the best, other than the adults that peed themselves in their cars. Not a Walmart story, but I was working at a Farmer Jack back when they still existed. I was like 14 or 15. I ended up quitting on my birthday when I was assigned to be a greeter at the door. I had a lady come in flipping out that the can bottle return machine was jammed. I went in to see if the bottle room boys were there so they could help her, and of course they were not. Being that I didn't know jack crap about the machine, I politely directed her to the customer service desk. She flipped the frick out, started screaming at me and demanding I help her. I apologized and tried to explain to her that there was nothing I could do for her because I had no idea how work or fix the machines, and again directed her to customer service. As she finally stomped away, she says frick you, and I just apologize again because I have no idea what else to do. The C complained about me to my manager, told me I was rude to her and refused to help her. I got called into the manager's office and explained my side of the story in tears. I didn't get fired or written up, but I didn't ever bother going back. Frick retail. No real horror stories, per se, but I can dump up some scary crap. I worked back in frozen dairy. Our team was so lazy and stock rotation so neglected that we once found a block of cheddar cheese that had expired over a year before. It was vacuum sealed, so no mold or obvious signs of decay, but definitely not something you'd want to eat. I had a female co-worker, pregnant with her third kid, who failed the employment quiz. Failed it. She had her husband take it for her, and OFC she got hired. Stupider than a bag of hammers. She thought that the CIA was reading everyone's minds and that Obama was gonna round us all up and make us live in FEMA coffins. Did I mention she's having kids? And offered, while very pregnant, to frick blow me in the walk-in cooler? A funny one. To cleanse the palate. For some reason the local Latin kings kept tagging the men's room. I'm sorry, but if your gang is so desperate as to want to claim a Walmart bathroom, then maybe you're in the wrong gang. Speaking of bathrooms, once found the toilets in one bathroom covered in crap, as well as the wall, floor, mirrors, sinks. Clearly someone was inspired by the works of Jackson Pollock and decided to create their magnum opus in excrement. I had an elderly lady on an electric cart back in my department. The battery died while she was going around a corner. They often did on weekends because so many people were using them, so she simply got up and walked away. A week before Christmas some kid knocked a fire extinguisher off the wall and, according to him, it landed on the handle and foam sprayed everywhere. Per protocol the fire department came and made everyone evacuate the store. You never saw so many people argue with firefighters telling them to evacuate. And OFC they all went to the front registers first because they might burn to death. But by golly they'll give the Waltons their money first. Last one. Sorry about this. One of the girls from another department apparently fell in love with me, and I didn't even know their name. She had a face like 10 miles off Bad Road, and butt so large that it wouldn't fit in the trunk of a VW Beetle, and a mustache that rivaled Tom Selleck's in length and density, and she fantasized about us fricking in the handicapped bathroom. I'm gonna go throw up now. Thanks for making me remember all that. Reddit. Not me, but this is my mom's Walmart horror story. She worked at Walmart when I was little, not even 4 yet. When I was little I had some kind of recurring virus that caused me to develop a 104-degree fever and a severe case of hives. So one day while she is at work my dad calls the store and tells her that I am very sick again. So of course, she goes to the manager and said she needed to leave because her baby was ill. They told her, you need to choose between Walmart and your family. Her response was, I gave birth to my child, not to Walmart, goodbye. And walked out that lady. Love stories like these, frick that bulls. I had a miscarriage during my shift. The CSM told me to man up and finish my work. The manager told me I could leave and offered to take me to the ER, but settled for following me home to make sure I got there okay. Every day is something different. I will keep it to the customers because there sure are horror stories with employees and management as well. But one day an older woman was crapping herself down her leg around the pharmacy area. I walked through 3 aisles and her, what looked like, granddaughter was wiping the watery crap off of her legs and left watery crap around the floor. Smelled for hours and I felt bad for the woman because she seemed a little surprised by it. Another customer came in a hurry because she had a taxi outside waiting for her and demanded assistance picking out tampons after I directed her to another item she was looking for. Well, she never told me what she was looking for, absorbency, brand, etc. despite me asking, and got very upset and loud, yelling that I should be fired, and she wanted to talk to my manager because I was refusing to help her, and around that point I realized she was drunk as a skunk and there was nothing more I could do. I heard her several minutes later yelling at another employee a few aisles down. A customer accused me of swearing at her to my boss. I told her the policy of pricing for something in the wrong place and then went back to work. I double check the policy with a coworker and get accused of talking about her behind her back. Thing is, she had her little girl in her cart. I take very good care not to swear in front of customers and even more in front of little kids. I had no reason to swear at her. LOL. She shopped around for another hour or so and gave me dirty looks thinking I should be fired. People like that just make me sad, because how bad is your day life that you feel the need to try and get minimum wage employees fired because they gave you an answer you don't like? I'm pretty sensitive, so these encounters took their toll on me those work days. I had to go to the bathroom to clear my head after. People at Walmart indeed. I worked as an overnight stocker when the store was closed. I did my best work every night. Eventually they moved me from the little baby aisles and give me giant aisles, like paper goods, chemicals, juice and water aisles. Eventually they expected me to do entire sections of the store in 8 hours. They estimate how much time it's supposed to take in a computer program. You know the price scanners? Scanner employee badge there and it brings up a job interface. I would have like 1 hour to do 2+ pallets, but during training they said it should take 40 minutes per pallet. The problem was they would bring back yesterday's overstock but not make a job for it. So your job is to do the stock that you got and during truck in the overstock. Then you would get in trouble when you couldn't make the ridiculous time quotas. So when they tell me to do automotive, hardware, sporting goods and toys in 8 hours and I have both the new stock and old stock 9 times out of 10 I wouldn't finish. Then when I was good enough to actually finish most or all of that work, they would send me to help other people get work done. At one point they had me doing the pets aisle. It wouldn't have been bad if not for the cat cans and super small bags of dog treats. That aisle never ever got done. They would bring out 4 decently sized pallets to start. Then you'll get 2 done and they bring 2 more out. Then you get 2 more done and they bring even more out again. That aisle only ever got finished by 2 employees. It wasn't that bad until one day I had to do frozen and dairy. You can only have the pallets out for 30 minutes at a time and they are huge pallets. You have to work extremely fast to get it all done. So within 30 minutes you need to take the pallet out of the freezer, bring it to the floor, pack the entire thing out, then put it back in the freezer. In 30 minutes. I quit shortly after this, seeing as I was getting paid $10 an hour to do half the store's work because over half of the employees were too dang lazy to do anything. What would take me 30 minutes would take another employee an hour and a half sometimes. Also, they would constantly change your schedule without saying anything, and if you didn't show up you got in trouble. Somebody actually got fired for not showing up a couple of times because of what they did. The secret to not getting in trouble was to take a picture of the schedule, since they all had week X on the top, so you had proof that you weren't supposed to work and it got altered. They also don't tell you if you got fired, so you come into work expecting to work and can't clock in anymore. Didn't work for Walmart but Midwestern retail chain. There was an employee that was counting money one morning and she was on her period and she didn't feel good when she came in, but frick it, right? Anyway, she's counting the money when suddenly she said she felt something wet on her butt. And this is a big kind of lady, so she stands up and oh my freaking gosh, she bled through her panty liner, panties, and pants onto the chins, onto the chins, onto the chins. She covered the entire chair, except the very edge, in period blood. She ran to our current manager and told her what happened and that she was really sorry, and the manager told her to not tell anyone. She said to just clean it up the best she could and go home. After finishing counting the money, this chick used freaking hand sanitizer to clean it up and all she did was just rub it into the chair and then left. One day while I was working, the employees all started gossiping about crap going down at customer service. Some guy was pissed off about a return at the return desk. I don't know all the details, but the guy became hysterical due to the normal return policy and demanded to see a manager. Unfortunately, the only manager on duty was this pregnant lady. She came to the front, listened to the guy B. When she refused to give the guy back his money, he shoved the large merchandise back in her direction and ran out the store screaming every curse word known to man. The merch ended up hitting her in the stomach. She was rushed to the hospital and ended up losing the baby. Oh, please tell me that guy was arrested. Worked there 10 years. Women giving birth in the bathroom, left baby in toilet, stabbing, naked vampire dude running through store, guy coming in with shotgun, little 80-year-old dog greeting lady talked the gun out of his hands. Black Friday, one guy run jump off a stack base tackle another guy, punch him, all for a girl's scooter. Lady in wheelchair ram into the back of me, back up and repeat since I was pinned between her and people fighting for a Care Bears. Worked with a guy that was arrested for his 18th DUI, kept job. Dropped televisions from top of garden center, almost killed co-worker. Watch assistant manager use a walker stacker, walking forklift, on floor in garden center to put merchandise up on top of shelves in garden center. 15/20 featuring high, said merchandise fell off pallet onto lady's head. To watch loss prevention agent, who did MMA on side, pick up shoplifter and slam him head first on concrete. Shoplifter was 16 years old, suffered permanent brain damage. LP guy was let go and charged. I can go on and on, but you get the point. 2 stories for you. 1. I worked in electronics and one day this sketchy kid came up to me asking for a game out of the game case. He just seemed off, like someone that snorted just a bit too much that day, but who am I to judge? I grab his game. He then says he'll take it up front. Store policy is that they have to pay for it in the department. So I tell him and he continues to sketch all the way to the register with awkward small talk. At the register, I ring it up, tell him the total, and he reaches into his wallet to hand me the most pathetic attempt at a forged bill I've ever seen. He scanned a 100, printed the front on one piece of paper, printed the back on another piece, and stapled them together. Stapled. The edges weren't even cut properly as you could see white along the border. I just looked at the guy and said, seriously? He made up some story of someone slipping it into his wallet by accident and walked off. I stood there in disbelief, turned to my co-worker who watched the whole thing and asked, WTF just happened? 2. Same department. This guy comes in on a busy day and I start ringing him up for all kinds of stuff from around the store, including the newly released PS2 and GameCube. Yeah, I worked there a lifetime ago. He writes a check, and I proceed to process it in our little machine. It comes back with a suspicious error, so I tell him the machine is acting weird and outside of earshot I call a manager over. He starts getting visibly nervous as a few CSMs, cashier mangers, come over and inspect the check. They ask him a few questions, take the check and disappear, stating they need to run it on a different register and that there's nothing to worry about and they'll be right back. After a few minutes he is sweating bullets and eventually starts slowly making his way out of electronics. His pace quickens until he's full on running for the door. I watch him from the register, cause frick it, I'm not breaking a sweat for minimum wage. And bam, our big butt Samoan security guy tackles him to the ground, picks him up and escorts him up front. At this point I tell a co-worker to take over the register and I head up front to see what else happens. I just had a feeling. I get there to see the guy meet up with the CSMs that took the check, a handful of managers and a few police. They present the check to him, ask where he got it, and before anyone could react he lunges forward, grabs the check and eats it. Donate the check. They wrestle with the guy a little and bring him into the back room. Customers and staff alike were staring in disbelief as to what just occurred. I found out later that the guy was traveling from Walmart to Walmart across state borders passing bogus checks. So yeah, normal stuff. Happened a few days ago. I had booked off 2 days for a surgery my girlfriend was having. Booked it off weeks in advance. I joked about it with her father how I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to call me in even though they knew why I was off. Not only did they call me, but when I reminded the manager what I was off for, they replied, well, what time is her surgery at? Here's one more. Ask any Walmart employee who worked the holidays just what exactly Black Friday means to them and watch for the telltale horror to pass behind their eyes. The one I got to experience was extremely upsetting. Sales floor packed wall to wall as the shoppers vied for the best prospective spots when the sales officially went live. We were dispersed around the store to keep an eye on the countless pallets wrapped up tight in plastic wrap to keep them untouched until the right time. Yeah, like that would ever work. With about an hour to go, people started taking every opportunity to pick the wrapping apart and sneak clothing, DVDs, whatever they could find, into their carts to get an edge up on everyone else. It was pure and utter chaos. With a half hour to go, the managers finally just said frick it, and, like some sort of eldritch shopping horror, a wave of tearing plastic rippled from one end of the store to the other, signaling the beginning of the end, and that's when things went from bubbling just beneath the surface to unbridled insanity. People clawing over each other, desperate to grab that last Xbox controller or Pixar movie. Children being tossed aside in a scramble for just one more good deal. It was on that night I experienced true shame at our consumerist culture and vowed to never let myself be dragged out on Black Friday again. Been with Walmart 3 years, and by far this story is one of my favorites. Working late one night, I notice an older guy stumbled in wearing a long tan trench coat. He was taking huge steps like he was trying to do lunges or something. Next thing I know, 3 managers come from all directions, grab the guy and walk to the back. I later found out that he was completely naked under the coat and was walking in big steps so that the coat would open up a little and expose his penis. But that wasn't the best part. In his drunken state, he had decided that drinking and driving was a bad idea. So he rode his horse to Walmart and parked it in a handicapped parking spot. The crap you see at Walmart. I worked at the Walmart Deli for a few months in about 2005. You got all kinds of cliche and crazy clientele, but the most notable was the mother who came to the counter with her 2 daughters. The youngest must have been 8 years old, and when they turned to leave, it turned out this little girl was wearing a 2-piece outfit that read jailbait on the back of the sweater and pants. I was absolutely flabbergasted. I worked in the photo lab for a summer. On my first day, a Saturday, I was told to report to layaway for the morning meeting. As I get there, a crowd is gathering, and I stand toward the back. An old lady shuffled up, hunched over her cart, and says rather loudly, "Where's the bathroom?" I point to the ladies' room in layaway, and the crowd parted as she shuffled by. After she passed by me, I involuntarily smelled heck. This viscous cacophony of nasal rape forced its way into my middle face holes. Dead possum, hot dumpster, rotting fish blackened with burnt hair and tainted with undertones of raw sewage. I held back gags as I realized what was about to occur. Dozens of innocent Walmart denizens were about to be crop dusted with Satan's breath. As she passed through the crowd, you could just watch the countenance of the group melt. As soon as the bathroom door shut, the crowd erupted into merciless gagging fits. One lady puked. Welcome to Walmart. People steal a lot from Walmart. Allegedly, prices vary depending on how much a given store loses from theft. So a store with high theft problems might charge 2% more for the same thing from an area with low theft issues. Also, when you catch someone trying to steal, the proper way to handle it is, "Oh, did you mean to purchase this item today?" Regardless of how they respond, they will probably be walking out with that item. We aren't supposed to stop them either. One guy, rightly, assumed that I thought he was stealing from the store. He was, and swung at me before rushing for the door with his cart. I don't know whatever happened to that dude, but I don't think the police ever got involved. I've experienced worse situations at other jobs that I've worked, but here's some from working as a cashier at Walmart. Going into the ladies' room for a quick break, I opened the stall door and someone shat all over the toilet, walls, and floor. It was so disgusting, and I felt so horrible for the cleaning person having to clean up after such dirty customers. One day, a woman tried to hand me her credit card, and as per the usual, I informed her that there's a swiping machine that customers use themselves. She proceeded to curse and say, "You people don't treat customers with any respect anymore," and mumble insults under her breath. All because God forbid she should have to swipe her card herself, as if she'd never encountered such modern devices before. Oh, the horror. Stupidly, I responded, "If you don't like it here, then why do you continue to shop here?" The look on her face would make a baby cringe. She then proclaimed that she's going to tell my manager of my poor attitude, to which I said, "Good, go for it." After paying, she did just that, and I started crying while helping the next customer, who felt sorry for me and gave me a few words of comfort. Afterward, my manager pulled me aside, asked me if what the lady said was true, and I admitted that it was indeed the truth. He laughed, because we've all dealt with buttholes like that, but of course had to tell me that I shouldn't talk like that to customers. Fair enough. I should have known better than to talk back to her, but dang. Sometimes it just slips out. At another job, a restaurant I was a manager at, the sink in the women's restroom was filled with vomit. Like an entire sink full of it. So gross. There are toilets in there. I should add, I only ever had problems with management once. All of my problems were due to customers being typical jerks. Overall, I actually didn't mind working there, and feel like people target Walmart a bit too much in terms of poor management and bad pay compared to the crap that goes on in other businesses, namely the food industry. I posted this story some time ago over in our Tellers from Retail, but I'll share again. Years ago I worked for a large department store chain, we'll just say the Blue Vest Mafia. In my time there I had job responsibilities that ranged from cashier to maintenance. This tale involves the latter. So there I was, alone in a rather dead store aside from a handful of shoppers, when out of nowhere, the women's bathroom, a middle-aged woman came rushing up to me. She looked very concerned and rather panicked and immediately began requesting that I locate a female employee for her. I was a little confused and intrigued, but I went to the customer service desk and grabbed the only free female cashier available. We returned to the nice lady who, again very panicky, shoved a $100 bill into my co-worker's hand and asked that she go find some clothes for her mother. It didn't take long to figure out where this was headed. So my co-worker and the nice lady went in search of clothing and I collected every cleaning tool, chemical, and protection wear I could find. I radioed the manager and let them know I would unavailable and why, then returned to the scene. The manager also appeared shortly, and my co-worker had already returned, while the nice lady was in the bathroom with her mother. After roughly several minutes, the two women emerged from the bathroom, with the older lady sporting an awesome new wardrobe. She was crying and kept repeating, "I knew I shouldn't have eaten Chinese. It would have been funny if she weren't crying so much." The nice lady thanked my co-worker, who was just about to walk away when my manager stopped her. He told her I couldn't clean the women's bathroom during business hours, but I would help mark off the area. She looked like he had just reached into her very soul and destroyed her spirit. It was worse than defeat. She almost looked scared, and she had every right to be. I helped her wheel in the cleaning cart and what I saw can only be described as a shitpocalypse. It wasn't just on the walls and floor, it was outside the stall, all over the toilet, and even on the ceiling. I didn't know that was even possible. It looked like this woman got into a fight with her sphincter and lost. My co-worker and I both began gagging immediately. I quickly blocked off the entrance and threw down some wet floor signs. My co-worker had the posture and look of someone about to take on an army armed with a pellet gun. She cleaned the bathroom for more than an hour, and when she finally finished she looked worn and ragged, like someone who had seen some crap. Pun intended. TLDR. A shitstorm. This is just one of a few. A. Got caught prank calling the store. From inside the store. I wasn't smart. B. Mentally challenged girl came to work talking about how her boyfriend peed in her hair and she didn't wash it. C. Had to clean human crap from sidewalk and aisle. D. Caught an old man spitting tobacco into display glasses. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.